Araba Radio.
Well, we did promise to return for the headline news analysis, and we are back. Thank you for joining us. Good morning to you. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Flow FM 92.7, your Go with the Flow radio station. I am Adeyemi.
And I am Danielle. Shitta-Bey. Good morning.
And we're back up to discuss, debate, and talk about some of the biggest stories making headlines this morning, 29th of April, 2025. We're brought to the headline news at 7 o'clock. And maybe you're flipping through the pages of the national newspapers now, and the story is catching your attention. You want to pass comment on them. You want to react to the story, or please feel very free to do that as well too. Or away from these stories that we'll touch on and bring forward from the studios here, you can also bring us forward another one. We'll look at it together. But please note that the number to call is 0807 777 9927, and we have a space of 1 minute 60 seconds to pass our comment. Tell us your name, your location, and go straight to the point. Please, let's not insult anybody with our comment. Let's keep it very, very civil this morning. Views to be expressed is not in any way the position of Flow FM 92.7, but solely as expressed by the in-house analyst this morning, Nicholas Wernoye, who joins us live. Good morning to you, Nicholas.
Good morning.
It's 29th day in April, right?
April.
Yeah.
Okay, gradually, April
is winding up.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're looking forward to it as well.
To me.
The new month. All righty. Thank you so very much for joining us. How's it this morning?
How's your trip down here as well?
First up, let's start off with what we would discuss this morning about the fire service.
Okay.
We must give them kudos. A building caught fire along the road here, and then they were there.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, they are still doing a lot of clearing up this morning. While I passed through that place.
But the truck is no longer there, right?
No, it's no longer there.
Oh,
it's no longer there.
All right, kudos to the fire service, the choir fire service. It's a good one. They did a good job at responding at that time
Honestly.
of the morning.
Yeah.
The morning is a good one.
They were there before 6.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We met them there. We met them on ground.
Yeah.
All righty. Let's get right into the conversation. Remember, views to be expressed is not in any way the position of Flow FM 92.7.
But as expressed by the analyst Nicholas, and also to remind you that we're streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook this morning, so you can get on any of these apps and get in on the live action happening in the studio right now. Let's get into the conversation. We talked about this yesterday, actually, and there's an update as well concerning JAM and then the federal government ordering WAEC NECO to fully adopt CBT by 2026. And they were saying that the move aims to eliminate exam malpractice and ensure credible assessments across the country. And in the same breath, Dr. Alausa also praised JAM's handling of the 2025 UTME, describing it as a world-class exercise. Now, yesterday when we were talking about this, it was more about the complaints of Nigerians and parents who were complaining about how early they had scheduled the exam for 6:30 and how far, their own houses would be to the venue. We talked about it yesterday, and then we have Dr. Alausa now saying, I'm praising JAM, and it's almost like they are aloof to what's happening and the complaints of the people.
Yeah, I think it's a stark demonstration of how poor feedback mechanism in Nigeria is. How poor federal government, or maybe there are feedbacks, they just choose to ignore it. Let us be clear. CBT is the way to go. But given the instance of JAM and all the complaints that have been coming over the years, I expected that that statement from the federal government should have been more sober and much more, expansive. In as much as CBT is the way to go, that they are going to improve on what JAM has done. That's what I expect the minister to say. Because they're going ahead to praise JAM. After the outrage, national outrage and outcry. It more or less. I think. Alausa is trying to play a bit of politics there. Don't forget that a very prominent opposition voice lent his own quarter to the criticism of the handling of the JAM placement exam. This couple of days. You understand? So maybe it's a way of just trying to say that, just to take the steam out of that criticism. That was why he said, but everything need not be politics, like I keep on saying. that it doesn't make you look bad if you admit that something has, if the opposition points out that something was wrong. There's nothing wrong with saying that. We'll take a look at it. We'll see what, then you give a thorough analysis. In fact, Nigerians will love you more. But unfortunately, this has been the kind of politics we've been playing for a very long time. It has become part of the culture for those who are in power not to admit that something was, even apologize when something is terribly wrong. And what we simply do is that, that all those mistakes, all those errors being made by JAMB will be fossilized by the time it gets to NECO and WAEC.
I was just going to ask you that. These bodies, are they ripe enough? Are they ready, for infrastructurally to have this exam, converted to, CBT? Because if you look at it, it's written all over the country and to some inner creeks of the country.
That is my concern. If we are talking in terms of the means to achieve the infrastructure upgrade, I think that Nigeria has the wherewithal to do that. But the problem has always been in the implementation. You see a lot of glitches here and there. Substandard individuals are allowed to handle this critical infrastructure upgrade. That is why we have some of these problems we are talking about. So you see, a situation where you bring in somebody because of man, no man, and not get credible people who have done this for several years in other countries, and there are records to show. When you don't bring those kind of people, you always have problem. Like you rightly pointed out, exams have been written even in the hinterlands, in the far-flung areas, places that are more, largely ungoverned spaces. So how do you get CBT over to that place?
Sorry to bother you, Nicholas. Let's get this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your name and where you calling from?
Danielle. How you doing, Danielle?
Very well,
Fine,
thank
thank you. Fine, thank you.
Yeah. My name is Tony. I'm calling for travel.
All right, please. Mr. Tony, please go ahead.
Yeah, quickly on JAM and examination conduct in Nigeria generally. You see, unfortunately, when we have people that are rebels in praise singing, rather than facing fast, we always have institutions that will not function well. The praise is that world class examination that JAM conducted. Where is that coming from? I don't know anywhere in the world where they say students should come and sit for an exam at 6:30 a.m. We need to face facts. It is not just about praising people. We have to do the right thing. And for us to do the right thing, we have to be able to face facts and tell people where they get it wrong. The number one thing that the election that brought him in was flawed. That is a sign of somebody that wants to do the right thing. I'm not ready to take your fault, and I'm sorry. I'm not trying to malign Professor Lohede. For people that knows him, that work with him, they know the person is. Sincerely, he has done some good things at JAM. But generally, when it comes to the conduct of JAM exams, he's just doing it the way he feels he wants to do it. It's somebody that doesn't take advice. I hope we get it right, and not just hope, we pray that we get it. Because we don't get it right, the future of the country is at risk. The government is saying, why aren't you by 2026? What are they putting in place? These are examinations that will take place in 774 local governments in the country. In the country where we have people that still take lectures sitting on big floor. Come on, are we serious at all? We don't just make announcements. We put actions into these things that we do. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you a lot.
Thank
you a lot. Well, let's pick this from the last caller's comments where it says Professor Isha Koloyede is currently auditing Nigeria's exam process to guide further reforms. Again, are we going to be seeing the same lapses that we're experiencing with the conduct of the JAMB examinations go into WAEC and NECO? this is not to downplay all the efforts and the good reforms, under JAM, under his leadership. But again, shouldn't we look elsewhere?
Well, you see, he has given a kind of, should I call it litmus test of what it's like when you do a CBT? So on the basis of that, we can always learn from what he has done. Where he made mistake, we patch it up and make it better. So kudos must be given to him that he actually bailed the cat. Of this, trying to make it to bring about more integrity in JAMB, in JAMB, examinations. But it might be a bit difficult for WAEC and NECU because, of course, you don't forget that it will involve a lot of writing. Say, for instance, in English, what's going to happen to essay writing, summaries, and the rest of them? What's going to happen? How are they going to go around that? So we are talking of a great deal of infrastructure upgrade, to make, to compensate for that, that kind of testing. So what we are looking at is that there is that possibility that, WAEC, NECO may have been, because for quite some time they've been talking about RCBT thing too, and they have been working on it. I know they have been working on it. There have been a lot of reports that they are going to work on. That they are going to see how they can,
Sorry to bother you again, Nicholas. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, I thought this is Joshua calling from Turkey.
All right, Joshua.
Good
Please
morning.
Go ahead, Josh.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Nicholas.
Good morning.
Talking about JAM, well, I'm very, very surprised at what Alausa said. It's funny. I don't know. The crop of leaders we have these days, they make it obvious these days that they don't even really have the interest of people at heart. And now they are talking about why people going full-time CBT. Do these people even realize that there are certain schools where they only have computer as a subject but not being taught practically? How are students from those schools supposed to cope? Minister Nicholas rightly mentioned that there are some of these schools that they are in ungoverned spaces. How are these students how are they supposed to cope? Transport-wise, with the security and everything. This is bigger than saying that we want to do this and it was happening 2020. They have proper planning. And even if it's going to be executed by 2026, it can't go full scale. It has to be little by little. And that's why Mr. Nicholas was right when he said yesterday that JAM should start building independent centers where they can be the one handling these exams. This is the way to go. Like, it feels like our leaders are traveling out of the country, but it's almost as if they're not learning anything from these people. I don't understand. It is real.
All right.
We are here already.
Thank you, Joshua.
Thanks, Josh.
All right. Let me just pick it up. There's some subjects again that students undergo, practicals.
Exactly.
So how do we cater to that? Or is it that we eliminate those ones?
No. I think that would be a big mistake. Because like in the practicals, like you go to laboratories,
biology, physics,
exactly,
chemistry.
Of course, that's the basis of science. You experiment. You understand? So you can't take that out. Of course, that will still remain.
Okay.
Probably they might just start, with the
Few
what you call
subjects.
OBJ, like what you call OBJ. That is
Objectives.
Objectives. That is the one you just make options, choose options.
The multi-choice.
The multi-choice thing. You can start with that.
Questions. Okay.
Leave the theory aspect, and that is for the first phase. Then gradually, you move into the theory, but of course practical will always remain practical. There is no way you can go around that.
Change practical.
But like Josh mentioned, my concern is for most of these hinterlands, these far-flung places where you don't even have electricity to start with. You understand the decrepit state of classrooms and classroom infrastructures that you have there is heart-wrenching. Like I did, I don't know, on this platform, I did say something about my travel to Foko, earlier in the year, I believe. Yeah. We are talking of community people coming together to build classroom for themselves. And even the ones you have on ground that were built, that is by sole effort. I looked at the classroom. I looked at the students there. We're talking of close to almost 1,000 to 2,000 students in that community, almost entirely cut off, except by the grace of a new effort into some new roads that are being constructed by the governor. You understand? So you see, when you see things like that, you then you sit down and listen to Alausa saying that he's giving directive that in 2026 that there should be CBT, you migrate fully to CPT. You wonder whether this man is living in the moon or he's actually living in Nigeria. So I don't know. It's mind blowing sometimes. Very amazing, really.
All right.
The number to call to join the conversation is 08077779927. You can call directly into the studio on that number, and you can leave us your comment via WhatsApp as well. 08077779927. Let's move ahead, please.
Let's get on to another conversation. This one is about the Federal Fire Service. We talked about it just earlier before. Yeah. So the Federal Fire Service has uncovered 5 cases of fraudulent enrollment in the government's payroll system by individuals without valid employment letters. And apparently, they revealed that some people paid between 1 million to 3 million naira to fraudsters for fake job offers.
Well, that story is coming a little bit too late now. Because what we are talking about is the standard practice in employment in Nigeria. Let us not deceive ourselves. You hear of, how many times have you seen EFCC, even, people are they're so fearless that they can even racketeer job this into the army. You understand? You see the Nigerian army come out publicly to say that we are not doing any recruitment if you pay any money into so places, you see, such periodical, notices coming out. The Federal Civil Service and the rest there are a lot of fraudulent people all over the places. You understand? So what the fire service is saying is not new. And you see, let me tell you one thing. You see, to get a job, I can, this is purely hypothetical, but I want to be called out, if you have a contrary data to disprove me, that out of every 5 employment by state or federal government, at least 3 of them were fraudulently obtained. It's that bad. Yes, that issue of having to pay money to buy employment. You know how many times relatives have walked up to me and say things about they need 500,000 naira to get a job into federal government. And I ask him, if I give you 500,000, you can't do business with 500,000 naira. So that is, you see, it has now become a standard practice in Nigeria. And it's a crying shame. Now, of course, we might say that it's the following standard of ethics, morality, and the rest of them. Yes, we might not be far wrong. But you see, that again tells you the direness of, unemployment in the economy. And that, you see, to do things like this involves highly placed people. Ordinary people cannot just stand up and start racketeering things. It has to be somebody who is fully employed and highly placed, has connection, deep connection, and are politically exposed. That is why things like this cannot be nipped in the bud. Because by the time they start doing this investigation and doing things like that, you understand? The next thing you see is it is connected to one public office holder.
Nicholas, you mentioned it cannot be nipped in the bud. What again? We have the Federal Civil Service Commission there, okay, and I think the part of their responsibility is to ensure and see to recruitment into ministries and federal parastatals and there. Again, do they monitor these things closely?
You see that the only thing they can do is what they have done now. Just shout, and that's where it ends. You see, this is a mark of impotence. If you ask me, because if you really want to nip this in the bud, this is not what I expect. Instead of this, is that we have arrested some people and they are standing trial at the police headquarters or so thing. And that is where these people are working. But you see, what they have done is the least they could, because they know people who are involved are highly connected. You understand? This is just like a last gasp effort. to save the system. That's what they have done.
Okay, what is now the hope of the common Nigerian who has gone through the four walls of a university and expects, a process that is clean, thorough,
free and
fair. He makes an application, he's called up for an interview, he gets it. I'll take you back a little bit to the pension scam, the job. I think I was some years ago, and then we have or some others. A lot of Nigerians are asking that, do you even see, public advertisement of some of these job openings at these ministries?
Some of them in less than 3 days, they post and then 3 days is off.
There has always been this philosophical saying I had from, somebody that I see as a big brother figure in those days. I have not been able to certain the author of that saying that the strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must. That has always been the situation with Nigerians. You understand? You see, recruitment exercise is a huge racket in Nigeria. It's a multi-billion naira racket. And very, very powerful people are involved. You talked about that pension scam. I have mentioned here that sometimes in 2014, I believe, was it 2013? Was it 2020? I think it was 2014. There was a story I did in Tell. It was a cover story, pension scam. You understand? That is that one of those stories led to the eventual jailing of this man Maina. This Maina, the former pension boss, the man who was hired to clean up the mess, ended up being the bigger scammer himself. He's in jail right now. Now, my point is that what I saw, as to the kind of the depth of rot in recruitment, pension, and things like that, is mind-boggling. Or even up to the extent that we are talking of ordinary civil servants wielding enough power to get the Senate to come after Maina. When he was, then you see on the other side at the executive level, you see very powerful individual in support of him. So that tells you that a humongous amount of money is involved in it. There are some people that they don't do any job at all. You understand? What they just see is racketeer employment. That is, create a racket around employment. I did mention the case of, an audit I saw of Kogi State when Yaya Bello was governor. I was privy to some of the audit of staffers, and to discover that in one secondary school, the entire staff in a private secondary school were somehow looped into, the state universal basic education salary schedule. The government was paying salaries of a school that is privately owned by a director in the Ministry of Education. Yes, that bad. So you see, that is what, when you see all these scams, this is where it comes from. This is how they do it. They just get fictitious name, or they just get people to bring money and they slot them in. So that is, it's a terrible situation that we have here.
All right. Let's move away from that conversation and on to another one as we round off on the analysis this morning. This is a pretty sad one. It's a story from something that happened in 2022 about the gospel singer Osinachi. The court recently sentenced Osinachi's husband, Peter Owanchukwu, to death by hanging after finding him guilty of culpable homicide. And the court also handed him multiple prison terms and fines and other charges amounting to about 700,000 naira, including spousal battery and child cruelty.
My God.
Now, they also say that an autopsy did not reveal visible signs of violence, but the court ruled based on witness testimonies, including those of the couple's children. The children also gave testimonies about what they had seen.
God. That Osinachi Nwachukwu's case is a very, very sad one. A very sad commentary on the state of things, what couples feels at home, and it also exposes, the shallowness of religious organization who don't, religious leaders who don't take time to look at what is actually happening in the private lives of members of their church or their mosque or wherever. Because Osinachi was not just a gospel singer; he was a lead chorister in
a very
very
prominent church.
in a very prominent church. You understand? And she was going through all this pain, and there wasn't any effort, any institutional effort on trying to get him, get her succor. And again, it equally speaks to, this question of, this marital vow. To what extent must you keep that marital vow? I'm not speaking against the marriage institution.
All right.
Sorry to botch you,
Okay.
Nicholas. Let's get this call. Hello, good morning. Okay. Please do also try to reconnect. 807-777-9927. Please go ahead.
When you are going through a lot of pain, that appears life-threatening, must you stay in that marriage?
In that situation.
You understand? Because...
Sorry. Hello. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Danny.
Yeah.
Good morning. It's Danielle on the show this morning. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from? All right, Mr. Davis, please go ahead.
Yes, you see, it is very unfortunate that an autopsy is carried out and there is no evidence of any physical torture or something. But if there is no evidence of torture, then it is very unfortunate to pass a judgment that the man should be hanged. You see, the evidence should be based on what the autopsy says and not what the individual says. That is just like
all right, Mr. Davis, thank you for that. Maybe you missed a part of that report. It says, even though the autopsy did not reveal visible signs of violence, the court ruled based on witness testimonies, including that of the couple's children. What other account do you expect?
Yeah,
if the children
can speak against their own father,
Yes.
So it's pretty slam dunk. Let us not belabor the matter. So and of course it speaks to a lot of men. We should be men should be very, very careful. You see, again, in a way, the Natasha issue comes in. You understand? There are so many things that men do. They don't even know it's harassment. You understand? They don't know that it is even violence. There can be verbal violence when you psychologically demoralize a woman.
You know what? We're going to pick this conversation up again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Since we're in a bid for time right now, we have to round off. But give us your last thoughts in few seconds, please.
Well, April is winding down. We're expecting May. Don't do things that I will not do.
Thank you, Nicholas, for
Thank
joining
you.
us on the analysis this morning. Well, the views expressed is not in any way the position of Flu FM 92.7, but solely as expressed by the analyst Nicholas Warinoye. I am Dayo Adeyemi.
And I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey. Thank you for joining us. Join us again tomorrow.